In 3.1, we'll finally get our hands on the last puzzle piece of Blood Tithe, RUBUSKA. Welcome to her build guide. RUBUSKA is a mineral healer able to increase allies' max HP by applying a Shadow Cloak, buff allies and mass heal. Let's go ahead and learn more about her. Her Insight 1 makes RUBUSKA accumulate Blood Tithe whenever an ally loses any HP. She will also grant Shadow Friend permanent status to all allies, which makes them lose 10% HP at the start of the round. RUBUSKA will then convert 70% of this amount into Shadow Cloak points, up to 15% of her max HP. Shadow Cloak is a buff that increases the max HP by 1 for every Shadow Cloak point. Every 200-300 points, it will also increase the critical damage and ultimate might by 1%. Shadow Cloak is commonly applied by RUBUSKA through her kit. Insight 1 also makes her able to store 3 extra Moxie. Insight 2 is a 5% max HP increase, and Insight 3 grants all allies Grace of RUBUSKA when the battle starts. This is a special status that prevents the users from dying. When taking a lethal attack, they will instead be healed by an amount equal to 30% of RUBUSKA max HP once. After any ally is attacked, RUBUSKA heals everyone by 12% of her max HP, up to 3 times per round. With this, RUBUSKA will be able to help herself automatically sustain allies and buff them at the same time, while collecting Shadow Cloak. Moving on to her skills, her first ability is called Midnight Mischief and is a one-target attack. RUBUSKA will lose 10% of her HP to deal 120 to 300% reality damage. This attack is also considered a retribution attack, so will also scale its damage based on 20% of her max HP. Midnight Mischief will also increase all allies' Shadow Cloak points by 3 to 9% of her max HP. Her second skill is called Shadow Guard and is a mass heal. RUBUSKA will recover all allies' HP's equivalent of 20% of her missing HP plus 20% of her max HP. This also will increase everyone's Shadow Cloak points by 4 to 12% of RUBUSKA max HP. Lastly, her ultimate is called Victory Belongs to RUBUSKA the First, and it's a one-target buff. She will apply Shadow Feast to the selected ally for 1 round and heal all allies equal to 10% of her max HP. Shadow Feast is a buff that once applied, it will clear all allies' Shadow Cloak points except the owner. It will then gain 20% of the cleared Shadow Cloak total points. This amount is able to go beyond the maximum point amount and will provide additional critical damage and ultimate might at 80% efficiency. Now that we know her kit, let's move on to her portraits. P1 extends the duration of Shadow Feast to 2 rounds, and the amount of extra Shadow Cloak points to 35%. The efficiency of critical damage and ultimate might gained from the overcap is also raised to 100%. P2 improves the scaling of Shadow Cloak points to 18% of RUBUSKA's max HP. The proportion of HP converted into Shadow Cloak points is also increased to 100%. P3 is a damage increase per rank on her attack skill. P4 improves Insight 3 by improving RUBUSKA's follow-up mass heal to 16% of her max HP whenever an ally is attacked. Lastly, P5 improves the scaling of Shadow Cloak points, lowering the requirement for bonuses. Now, for each 1% of critical damage and ultimate might, only 100 and 200 points are required, previously 200-300. If you're interested in getting portraits, the best valued ones are definitely P1 and P2 for better scaling and longer duration on buffs, and obviously P5 for bigger buffs. Let's now move on to her Psychube. RUBUSKA will have her own, called the Wandering Improviser, and will be available in the event shop. It provides HP main stat, and its amplification provides RUBUSKA with up to 24% healing bonus and an ultimate might buff up to 4% whenever an ally receives 1 instance of damage, stacking up to 6 times for a total of 24%. Moving on to her resonance, considering that her entire kit scales with it, RUBUSKA will be using an HP-oriented build with an overindulgence frequency to double down on it. Now that we know how to build her, let's talk about the team building options. RUBUSKA is obviously built with Blood Tithe in mind. Her abilities are constantly draining allies' HP in exchange for buffs, so obviously the primary team for her is with Nautica, Semmelweis and Sentinel as their dedicated healer. That said, the kit itself isn't necessarily bound to Blood Tithe. Her job as a healer is good regardless of the team, so she can be an easy low AP sustain for any team, provide buffs and even negate death once. Overall, RUBUSKA is a simple yet powerful healer, able to auto-heal, buff allies and save you from dying, literally. So picking her up will definitely raise your roster flexibility for the future. That's it for today's guide. For any questions, feel free to post a comment below or come ask me live on twitch.tv/Jakazin. Thank you for watching and see you next time.